Okay. Let me and if you have questions, I think go ahead and send those in the chat. We've got a few more things to cover before we end today.
今日終わる前にですね、あと少し、学びを深めていきたいと思いますので、何かご質問がございましたら、チャットにご質問をお願いします。
I want to show you just a quick video. This was a video that JR and I shot in Vietnam.
ベトナムで撮った映像をですね、皆さんに、ご披露したいと思います。
It was done as a promotional video for AP Media.
これ AP メディアのプロモーションビデオの作成をしました。
And we filmed one of our students from our workshops there.
そして私たちのワークショップの一人の学生を連れてですね、やったんですけれども。
We wrote a script and used her as an actress in this video.
台本を書いてその学生を、にキャストとして出演していただきました。
And so what I want you to do is watch this video, but watch it from the perspective of a video producer.
しかし皆さん今回ですね、この映像を見るときにただ映像を見るのではなくて皆さんがこの映像の、ディレクターというかこの映像の制作者側として見てください。
Pay attention to the framing and composition of the shots.
このフレーミングであったり、どういった意味を持たせてあるのかということを考えてみたりですね。
Pay attention to the depth of field in the shots and how we bring the eye of the audience to certain things.
またこの深度といってこの、奥行きであったりこの視聴者の目をどのようにですね、こう動かしているかということもぜひ考えてみてください。
Okay, let's watch together.
では共に見ましょう。
Voices. Voices inside my head. They all say the same thing. They preach of my insignificance. They feed on my fear. It's written that Jesus gives me the strength to do anything. He told me to change the world, to tell others about His love. I just want to make a difference. But who am I? What if the voices are wrong? I can reach one. But what if God wants me to reach millions? What if my dreams aren't big enough? I feel something stirring. What if God is about to pour His Spirit on my people? I hear a new voice. It's a waterfall. It's thunder. The whisper of a question. Who will carry the message? Here I am. Send me. sent me? Who are you sending?
Okay, now we kind of changed the end a little bit because we were going to use it as a promotion a little bit for this workshop, but
今回のワークショップのためにちょっとエンディングを少し、変えましたが、
But I want you to notice how actually a lot of the techniques that JR just covered were in this video.
実はこの先ほど、J 先生が、使ったこの技術というのがふんだんにですね、盛り込まれているのです。
Lots of use of rule of thirds to balance our image.
この、3分割法を使ってこの映像のバランス、均衡を与えたり、
Lots of use of different focusing on different things to really bring the eye of our audience to into the space of the viewer or the space of our subject.
対象物、目のフォーカスが当たるものを変化させることによって本当に映し出したいものにこの人々の目が吸い込まれるように調整をかけてみたり。
And all of those things worked together with the music and the sound to create emotion for our audience.
そして音も大事な要素としてそこに組み込まれていて、これ人々がどのようにですね、こう見えるようになるかということを意識しているわけであります。
I want you to also notice how that the video kind of established a problem. And then towards the end, what we saw was that the emotion got lifted, right?
皆さん、これ最初にですね、この起伏があるのが分かるでしょうか。最初、この問題提起をすることによって、最後、その解決がどのようになされるかという、徐々に上がってくるクライマックスを見ると思います。
And so from the beginning to the end of our videos, we're taking our audience on a journey of thought and emotion.
この、制作物というのは、初めから終わりに至るまでに、視聴者と一緒に旅をしていただいて、視聴者にどういう感情を持っていただくかというのを提供するわけです。
And so we're kind of controlling where they land at the end of watching our video.
なので、最後にどういう結末、どういったものを渡すかということを私は意識しなければなりません。
Okay, I think we have a couple questions before we jump into the next part.
次の、ところに行く前に質問がなされているので、お答えしたいと思います。There are several people that asking the same things that they are asking the live stream of the service. So that do you have any plan or do you have any lesson that talks about more about the live stream of services? So they would need advice. They are kind of willing about that.
Sure. I think what we're going to do is hopefully on day 3 tomorrow, after we talk about coming up with ideas for projects, we might talk some more about live stream.
皆さんこれですね、3日目にですね、この礼拝のライブに関しての講義というか内容を話したいと思いますが、まずこのアイディアをぜひ、得ていただいて、そこの後にですね、この礼拝についてのお話も少しさせていただければと思います。
But I would encourage you, please do not think of video production as live stream only.
ぜひ皆さんですね、私はとても皆さんにお勧めしたくて、またお伝えしたいことがあります。それというのは、この映像制作というのは、ライブ配信だけが映像制作ではないということです。
If our mission is to reach people that are not in our church, right?
もし私たちの願いというのが、教会に来ていない方々に到達することであるならば、
there's a much better chance that I can get them to watch a video like the one we just saw rather than to watch a video of a service, a church service.
私が先ほど見せたような映像もこの礼拝で普段映し出されているライブストリームよりこれですね、これ視聴者に対する引きというのがあるのがわかるでしょうか。
That being said, I know that live stream is a really important topic to talk about right now.
もちろんライブ配信が皆さんすごく今この現代において興味があって重要なトピックだということも私は理解しています。
And so, so hopefully we'll get to some of that tomorrow.
明日ですね、そのことも詳しく説明できればと思います。
And really with that, probably what is best is to just kind of open it up to questions and have you kind of direct that subject and tell me what are the things that you're facing, what are the problems that you're facing in your live streams.
ぜひですね、こちら、礼拝のライブに関するアドバイスを、お聞きしたいという方いらっしゃると思いますが、今この段階で一体皆さんがどういう機材でどういった問題に直面しているかというのがですね、測ることができませんので、ぜひ今皆さんの、教会におけるライブ配信が抱える問題であったり、課題などがあれば、ぜひそちらをまとめていただいて、そちらを私たちで、なんていうんですか、吟味することによって適切なアドバイスをすることができますので、ぜひそういったものもですね、用意していただければと思います。
Okay, so let's talk about camera movement, and we have a video. Jay, do you want to introduce this video at all?
Okay, actually, before we proceed to the videos, actually with live stream, I think we can promote AIM for this year. Like for English speakers, we're actually doing a live stream only 5-day webinar next month.
Oh, really? そうですね、実は、J 先生が、講義の、別の講義でですね、ライブ配信特化型の、クラスというのもですね、実は、企画して来月やるそうです。
Okay, we'll try to send the link later when we're about to finish. I'll put a link on the group chat so you guys can check out what that sessions will be.
But those are English only, right?
Yeah, English only mostly, yeah. And it's not free. It's a very minimal cost. Actually, it's one of the ministry things that we're doing to help churches in the Asia Pacific region.
実はですね、この J 先生がなされているこの働きというのはですね、日本だけではなく、このアジア地方、このにおけるですね、伝道活動、映像伝道活動もされていて、ライブ配信だけのですね、特化型のコースというのもですね、結構これ短いものではなくて大々的なものになりますが、またごめんなさい、これは英語だけのものになりますが、とても良い学びですので、これ J 先生が後ほどそれに対するリンクも送ってくださるそうなので、ご興味のある方はそちらも見ていただければと思います。
Okay, so with the videos, yeah, yes, bro.
Yeah, can I just say one thing also? Occasionally, I try to help and do consultations with churches in JG about their live stream. So if you need some help and you want to contact me and for us to talk about your specific situation, please, you're welcome to do that.
皆さんにですね、あと、お知らせがあるんですが、ジョナサン先生はなんと教団の映像の担当というか、ライブ配信の担当の責務も負われております。なので皆さんのですね、教会の先生とぜひお話ししていただいて、またライブ配信の課題や問題点が終わりでしたらですね、その教団を通して、また先生を通してですね、ジョナサン先生に、話をして、そしてジョナサン先生とそういうふうに打ち合わせというか、またアドバイスを受けることができますので、ぜひ、そういった各教会の、課題、またいろいろとございましたら、ぜひそれをまとめていただいて、今、ジョナサン先生、チャットでですね、Gmail アドレスを送ってくださいましたが、こちらまで、送っていただけましたら、先生が個別で対応してくださるそうです。
Okay, Jay.
Okay, so for this part of the class, we're doing a pre-recorded video that we shot last month.
私が今から見せるのは、先月撮ったプレレコード、つまり、まだ、終わってはないんですが、プレレコードのものを見せることができます。
Okay, instead of actually doing it live with the translator, we did produce a video to better illustrate and show it on video.
視聴者目線ではなく、このプロデューサーとして作ったものとしての目線で作ったものですので、ぜひそれを見ていただければ幸いです。
Okay, so the first part would be a 17-minute video. After that, we can do question and answers. Jonathan will play it for us.
17分くらいのビデオですが、その後にですね、皆さんぜひ質問等がありましたら答えていただければと思います。
Hello, good morning, guys. We are now in the AP Media office. Currently, we are doing renovations in our office, and I think this is a good place to demonstrate some of the things that we will teach to you today. So this time, we will be discussing camera movement and how you can use it to better tell your story. So in creating your videos, you don't want the audience to just focus on the camera movement that you're doing. You want the audience to focus on the story. There are tons of camera movement that you can do. Actually, just by holding your camera, you can point it anywhere you want. You can create any crazy shots that you want or movement that you want to convey. But a good filmmaker understands why camera movement or how you can use camera movement to convey the right emotion that you want to create the most dynamic shot. So you have to understand these simple questions that can help you guide the types of shots or movement that you will do in your shot. You have to ask, who are you filming? What are you filming? And where are you filming? So when you're composing the shot, you have to ask yourself as the cameraman or producer or the director, you have to ask yourself, what is this shot trying to convey? Are you trying to emphasize a particular feature or a particular point in your shot? And remember, whenever you're composing your shot, you also ask yourself, what is the main subject in this shot? Where do I want the audience to look? Where do I want the audience to focus as I compose my shot? Okay, sometimes you also ask yourself, are we primarily focused on the subject, or is there a connection between him or her and the background? Do we want to emphasize something in the background also? That's why we're framing the shot like this. So now let's learn the type of shots that we can do to better communicate our desired message. Okay, let's start with the first one. Okay, so the first one is a static shot. So now you ask yourself, why do we need to learn a static shot or a shot where the camera isn't moving, and we're talking about camera movement? Okay, what is a static shot? So it's commonly used or captured using a steady tripod, and it's good for capturing movement. I usually use this whenever I want to establish something, probably a scenery or the first wide shot of a particular scene. I usually use this type of shot to let the subject do the movement, in the scene. I don't want the audience to focus on the movement, but I just want the audience to focus on what's happening on the scene. It's usually done or executed using a wide shot. These are also good for establishing scenes or establishing what's the scene going to be about. The next type of movement for the camera would be the random movement or the camera handheld. A random movement can be defined by the camera shake. So camera shake is added subtly to create a subjective experience and good for intimate effect. This is typically done handheld for no budget filming without the use of rigs or camera rigs or tripods. This is my favorite and easiest to pull off, or many type of situations where shooting is actually prohibited. So I've done mostly of my shoots outside using this type of technique or movement, because sometimes if you're prohibited in bringing big camera gears like tripod stands, stabilizers and all, it's a good way to pull off the shot that you want or intend to create your scene. So this type of movement is sometimes referred to as unmotivated movement, meaning the cameraman will create certain moves, zoom in and zoom outs, to make the scene more active and that the audience sees that the movement is conveying the emotion that you want to convey in the scene. So it's good for documentary type of videos. Sometimes I've done this type of movement in situations indoors, or I'm shooting an indoor shot and I want to convey the feeling of a raw scene. For example, I let you watch this scene from one of our videos that we produced last Christmas. So you're seeing this video, you can see that I intentionally was trying to create movement using the camera. Even the scene is very emotional in nature, but as the director and cameraman, I was trying to convey the feeling of rawness, and I want the audience to feel that they're not just on a steady shot or a tripod, and I want the movement to help convey the emotion that I want to convey with the audience, to the audience. Okay, so the next type of camera movement is what we call the panning shot. Pan. It's panning from left to right or right to left. Okay, so panning left to right or right to left. So this shot is used to reveal information also if you want to showcase landscape or if you want to establish the room or the setting where you're doing the scene. When done slowly, this type of movement or camera movement creates tension and suspense. So try to look at these sample shots. So if done properly, the movement, the slow movement can create that tension. And you know, imagine already if you add music underneath this video, it would create that feeling of something that's going to happen, something bad's going to happen. The next type of camera movement is what we call the tilt. So it's similar to panning, but the movement will be up or down. Okay, up or down movement. This type of shot can also give new information to the audience. If upwards on a subject, if we're doing a tilt going up to the subject, it builds up power, or it creates a scene or a type of shot that gives the subject power. Look at the sampler video. It's trying to convey that the subject now is in control or in control of the scene. If you're doing a tilt down shot, then the shot creates, or the movement creates, weakness or vulnerability to our subject. So the next type of camera movement is what we call a push-in. A push-in movement, it takes the audience inward. So this is the physical movement of the camera towards the subject. It emphasizes that the subject matter is of importance in the scene. It is to direct the attention of the scene to a specific part of the frame and to reveal a detail. So this shot can also be a good way to convey the character's thought process. For example, if you want your character to stand out as thinking of doing something bad or good, this can be a good shot to convey that emotion or that thought process. This can be executed well if you're using a gimbal stabilizer like this, or if you have a slider. Old slider can be a good way to execute this type of camera movement. Okay, one technique I can teach you about this type of shot is if you're having problems or trouble focusing on the subject as you push in, what you can do is do a reverse of that. For example, you do your shot, focus on the subject's face first, do it on close-up, and then you do a push-out shot. What you can do in post-production is reverse that shot. So in doing so, you can make sure that the end point of the subject or the shot would be a more focused and more defined features on the face. Try to do it close-up first, focus on the subject, and pull out. Okay, let's do a take two. Focus on the subject and pull out. Okay, so the next camera movement is what we call the push out shot. So this shot de-emphasizes the character. So this can be used to reveal how massive the scene is. Okay, this type of camera movement might also convey that we as the audience are seeing that the subject is getting smaller in the frame, like we are disassociating ourselves with the subject. It gives the subject less power and less important in the scene. So check out this type of shot done in the film The Joker. So as the camera is pulling out, we can see that we as the audience are also abandoning the main character in the scene, which is the Joker. So the next shot or the camera movement is what we call the zoom in shot. It's better done using a camera with a servo zoom in or out because it's more smoother, or if your camera has an internal zoom in capability, that would be good. So now let's look at these sample shots and tell me what you feel when you're seeing these shots. They feel unnatural because naturally our eyes cannot zoom in on a subject. We cannot zoom in and out just by looking at a subject. So unlike the push in and push out, zoom is unnatural to our eyes because our eyes cannot zoom on a subject. It's a different feeling altogether. This shot changes the camera's focal length of the lens of the camera. It's also good for revealing context. So the next type of camera movement is what we call the tracking shot. So this shot should be done purposefully. It should answer where is the subject going and what he will do. This shot is physically moving the camera towards the subject or along with the subject. And it's very different from the push in and push out shot because here in this shot, we are moving with the subject. The subject is on the move and we track with them. So check out these samples in this video. We are physically moving the camera along with the subject and we are following where he is going. So now if you're using a camera or a phone to execute this shot, it's good to have image stabilization on. But if your camera device doesn't have that function, you can use it with a proper stabilization device. You can use a glide cam or a automated gimbal or stabilizer to execute it better. Unless you want a raw, rough movement, this can actually be good for doing action scenes or something that's very raw and candid. So try to look at this sample video from one of our videos that we've done a few years ago. Instead of doing a wide shot of the entire furniture place, I used a tracking shot to follow the movement of our main character, revealing the entirety of the sequence. The next type of camera movement is what we call the trucking shot. Trucking shot, we are moving the camera laterally, left or right of the screen. It's good for actually revealing new scenes in your story and revealing the next things that's going to happen on screen. Now check out the sample videos and see what this type of shot conveys. These are not the only type of camera movement that you can actually do. These are just the basic shots. There are many other types of shots that we haven't talked about. So these are other samples, quick samples of some types of camera movement that we actually see in films. So you have the dolly zoom or zolly, meaning your camera is on slides and your focal length of your lens changes, zooming into the subject. Check out these video samples and see what this type of shots convey and make you feel as the audience. So the next one is the camera roll, meaning you're physically moving your camera or rotating your camera. The next is rack focus. You're creating camera movement by changing the focus of the lens from one specific subject to the next. It can be good if you're wanting to de-emphasize a certain part of the frame. It can also be good for reveal or directing attention to a subject right away. Now, if you're familiar with wedding films, it's very popular in that genre of filmmaking. The next is the arc shot. Check out these sample videos. It can be done vertically or horizontally. It's good to execute this when the subject is still or not moving. This type of camera movement can convey intimacy or panic, or it can also convey heroism if done right. So some of these sample shots or camera movement that we've shown you, I used a video equipment or a stabilization device. But what if you don't have those type of things? You can do something like this. Just by using the strap of your camera, this can actually be used as stabilization for your shots. So this type of camera hack will definitely help you reducing the amount of shake that will be applied on your shot. So make sure to try this out also. The next thing you can probably do to minimize the shake would be to stand firmly on the ground, lower your knees a bit, and make sure that you move very subtly from left to right. This can definitely reduce the wiggle and shake, and you can create this fancy types of movement to create the shot that you want. You can also try this out. You can put your camera on the table, use a rug, and pull it to create a very smooth movement using your rug. This camera hack will mimic the movement of a slider. If your camera or phone have a high frame rate setting, or you can use slow-mo shots, take advantage of those to shoot your B-roll or shoot your camera moves. You can lessen the movement in post-production, or you can lessen the playback rate in post-production to make a very smooth and buttery movement for your shot. If you're shooting in a room and you have this type of office chairs that you can use, you can probably use it also. Sit down on it, have somebody pull and push you, and create this type of shots. So hopefully by knowing this type of camera movements, it can help you better plan your next video. You can add this type of camera movements to your arsenal when you're designing or preparing for the next video that you will shoot. It's good to define these movements and shots, so when you write an outline, shot list, or script, you can better convey the information needed for the specific scenes. Now again, you don't need all these type of shots to create one specific video. So now the next step would be to practice this type of camera movement. Okay, when you're doing movement, make sure that the movement you're trying to do should convey the feel, and make sure that it will move the story forward. If you're doing camera movement just by feel, or you're just wanting to create something fancy, think first. Make sure that what you're doing is supporting the overall story of your video. Because if you don't do it right, it might confuse the audience.
Okay, so that's that for camera movement so far.
今までのが、カメラのムーブメント、動きでありました。
Hopefully, it was clear enough with the samples on screen. You can see right away the shots that are being shown.
先ほど、見せた映像もサンプルとして、使ったのが皆さん見えると思います。
Okay, so Jonathan, I think we can cue the next video. We're just in time. We just have enough time for it, right?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so the next one would be how with the camera movement, how we can build sequence using that shots, the framing and the movement, how we can put that into creating sequence or scene.
次の、映像での学びになりますが、今度は、カメラの動きだけではなく、またさまざまな要素を伝えて、もっとクリエイティブな、映像を作り出すにはというものを見ていきたいと思います。
Play it. Thanks.
Now we have a basic idea of the principles in composition, and we already know the camera movements. Now let's try to shoot some scenes. From time to time, we will use our mobile phones in shooting the scenes. Now this type of B-roll sequences or sequences that we prepared aren't really story type videos. They're just meant to show you how to build a simple sequence using the compositions and the camera movements that we learned. So now let's learn how to shoot B-roll. B-roll are supplemental footage that will support the overall theme or message of our video. So we need to practice shooting B-roll because we can use this shooting technique for almost any videos that we are shooting. So B-roll will help convey the message or the theme of your story. So in this setting, we're shooting in this construction area, and we'll try to shoot as much footage as we can and create a video about this ongoing renovation. So let's go over some shooting B-roll tips. So first, you have to have your shot list in mind. So if you have this, Actually, you can write it on a piece of paper, but this will guide you in the overall shooting of your project. So shot list will be very helpful if you're going to the field and you have lots of things going on. So if you don't prepare a shot list, you'll really forget some of the important shots that you need to capture on a specific shoot. So for shooting weddings, for example, I shot weddings before and I really had to research what are the types of shots that I need to capture. So I did an online search and check out some of the things that are usually captured in weddings. So this having this list helped me shoot the entirety of the event, and I had an idea of where to go or what to shoot when your schedule is quite full and you're the only one shooting the whole event. So have a shot list prepared. So next is thinking through our shots before we even arrive. So arrange the shots that you will take by scenes, locations, if it's a shoot outside the house or inside the house, and what type of shots you will be capturing. If you're covering a big event, for example, if you're in this big location, I usually shoot establishing shots of outside the hall or outside the venue, and after capturing all those exterior shots, you go inside to capture the events that's happening inside. So usually, if you're shooting something without dialogue, or if something is just happening right off the moment, I'd probably shoot a good 10-second shot of that scene. So mostly I use the middle portion of that shoot and use it for my video as the B-roll. Usually when shooting, I really have to time myself. A good 10-second steady shot will be a helpful guide if you're shooting B-roll. So if you get a good steady 10-second shot of a scene, you can proceed to the details afterwards. So you have to really practice shooting steady shots, and you can create different angles after that. So when shooting B-roll, it's like you're telling the story using the start, middle, and end. Use this as guide for shooting B-roll. For example, if you're shooting this type of construction scene, you have to create the start of that B-roll. So you create this entry point to the shot, and then your middle portion will be the overall movement that's happening in your frame, and then you move the camera again to end that shot. So with that one particular shot, you already created 3 scenes. Again, you might not use the whole clip, but with that practice, you're able to create this simple sequence in that one particular shot. So when you're shooting a testimony video or a talking head video, with that you need supporting B-roll, right? So a tip would be to shoot the same frame rate as your main video. So if your talking head video is 24 frames per second, a good tip would be to shoot your B-roll also in that frame rate or that setting. I suggest you also probably use the same white balance to make the overall feel the same of your main video and your B-roll. Now, with regards to shooting the same frame rate, if you now plan to shoot slow-mo videos, again, that's when you'll change the frame rate of your B-roll shoot. Look at the sample videos. I shot this in slow-mo, and I will shoot it at 100 frames per second and then 60 frames per second. So I have options in editing if I want to slow these shots down. Next would be to shoot with natural sound. Try to add in sound to your video or B-roll. So when you're shooting, try to use a shotgun mic along with your camera to capture the feel of the moment. So you're not just capturing the visuals, but you're also capturing the sound. So that will also be very helpful in telling your story if people can also hear what they're seeing. So you're not just using music underneath your video, but you also have sound to accompany the visuals that the audience is seeing. So with B-roll, every shot should provide new information or advance the story forward. If you're just shooting random stuff, try to think of shots that will help move the story forward. If you're shooting something and you're really not sure that it's gonna be used for the video, you have to think ahead. You have to plan your shots and make sure that what you're capturing will help convey the message that you want. So now let's practice shooting a scene. Okay, let's build the scene using this simple sets that we created, or simple action that we created. So usually I start off with the wide shot and then go from there. So I establish the scene. I usually do it in one go, the whole thing that's going to happen. For example, this shot of them playing rock, paper, scissors. I want the wide shot to start from the beginning and end the whole thing with that wide shot. If I have that main shot already captured, I'd go then to the details. So I'd shoot the reversals of each character. I'd show the lady getting the reward for that, and then reactions and faces. So this is quite a simple scene because I did not have dialogue. It's just mostly movement and directing the actors what to do. Remember, when you're shooting something or framing something, your camera is the eyes of the audience. You're directing them where to look and what to look at. So you're deciding as the cameraman or director what to emphasize in a frame by what you focus in your shot.
Well, obviously, as you can see, I'm shopping. I do this yearly naman, just reward myself. And no more giving gifts muna to my friends. Unahin ko muna yung sarili ko this time.
Para sa mga solid follower ko to, kaya kailangan ma-perfect ko tong galaban na to para sa TikTok pasabog ko. For sure, abot na natin ng 1 million followers. Yes!
How would I celebrate Christmas? Siyempre, pasabog. Last year kasi medyo malamya yung Pasko, di ba? So this time, I'll make sure na ang bahay kong ito ay ang pinakamaliwanag sa village namin. Todo liwanag para maganda ang pasok ng New Year. O siya, marami pa akong gagawin eh. Magsasabit muna ako.
Hello, Nanay! Pasensya na, late ako. Ang traffic na naman kasi. Ito po, may pansit akong dala. Pagsasaluhan natin to habang mainit pa. Teka lang, ang dilim dito sa kusina. On natin ang ilaw ng parol. Yun, gutom na ako. Kumusta ka dito sa bahay, Nay? Kumusta yung araw mo? Bakit ang lungkot-lungkot naman yan?
Naalala ko lang ang tatay mo, anak. Ito ang unang Pasko na hindi natin siya kasama. Ang lungkot, di ba?
Nay, nasa heaven na si tatay. Kahit wala na siya sa atin, kaya natin to. Pray lang tayo kay Lord at ask tayo ng joy and peace sa puso natin at sa buong mundo. Kaya itong pansit, Nay, kain tayo. Gutom na ako. Ang bango nito.
Konti lang, anak. Tama na yan. Marami na.
Pero bago ang lahat, pray muna tayo. Lord, maraming salamat po sa paggabay niyo sa amin ni Nanay. Kahit wala na po si Tatay, tulungan niyo po kami na ipagdiwang ang Pasko na may saya sa aming puso. Dahil ikaw, Lord, ang diwa ng Pasko. Ito ang aming dalangin. Sa pangalan ni Jesus, Amen. Kain na tayo, Nay! Dali!
So look at the sample video. I did start off with the wide shot, creating that establishing shot of everything in the frame. So it's quite a small room, and after shooting the main wide shot, then I went on shooting the details, the focus on the picture frame and the reversals of the two characters in the frame as well. So now this is a bit trickier to do because it has dialogue. But once you get the main establishing shot or the wide shot of the scene, you can then proceed on capturing the other segments of the story. If you do it this way, you actually will help yourself when you're editing the project altogether. When you have all these different angles and scenes, you can tell your story better.
And that's that. I'm sorry the video wasn't translated, but it's actually a Christmas video that we created portraying the completeness we have in Christ.
クリスマスのところ、すいません、日本語訳なかったんですけれども、あればですね、クリスマスにお父さんを、というか、夫を亡くしたお母さんとその娘との、絵であって、それがなんかこの、一般的なクリスマスと、このキリストを信じる者のクリスマス、また失った者に対する考え方というのを、強調した作品になっておりました。
Okay, I hope today we learned how now to better use our framing to tell our story and help show the emotion that we want to show.
今日はフレーミングやさまざまな技術を通してですね、この視聴者に何を訴えたいか、また、感じてほしいか、またどういうふうな目的を私は持たなければならないかということを学んだと思います。
Okay, thank you everyone for sticking for day 2. Woohoo, what a day!
Yeah.
皆さん、2日目終わりましたよ。感謝します。
I think these are great techniques. All of these things that we're teaching are really the foundation for any type of video production, even live streaming.
これはライブ配信においてもそうですが、今まで今学んだ事柄一つ一つがですね、私たちが持つべきこの映像に対する土台となるわけです。
Because some of these same concepts we can carry into different types of projects.
この土台を持つことによって他の作品、また他のものを作るにあたっても大事な要素になるからです。
And so it's important that we lay this foundation for you, and I hope that this has been instructive for you today.
今日のこの学びがですね、皆さんにとって良いものであって、皆さんに何かのきっかけになれればと思っています。
I will share links to all of the videos and the slideshow presentations as well. We'll do that probably tomorrow at the beginning of the session.
今日の資料、また映像ですね、3日目のまた朝にですね、ドロップボックスのリンクで送らせていただきたいと思います。
And if you have any questions or things that you are wondering about, just send it to us between classes. You can, email me or send us a message through one of the pastors or anything. Yeah.
皆さんが質問か等あればですね、先ほどジョナサン先生のEメールアドレスも分かったと思いますけれども、そちら皆さんが伝えている教会の牧師先生でも構いません。いろんな手段を通して私にコンタクトを取ってくだされば、できる限りのご協力をさせていただきたいと思います。
Okay, we'll close out because we're at the end of time today, and then we'll be back here tomorrow at 10 a.m.
皆さん、もう時間ですので、終わりとなりますけれども、明日のまた10時にお会いしたいと思います。
So, 皆さん、お疲れ様ですね。
お疲れ様でした。
またね。